What did you make of him?
He got his goal. He got an assist. I know the assist was... He was trying to score a goal.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer nicked it off him.
Good, because my FPL needed
my
that.
FPL needed
Cole
it as well.
Palmer was my captain, so thank you, Cole. Yeah.
But it's difficult for Christopher Nkunku because, and I feel for him a bit, you see it when he's scoring goals in the Conference League, the body language is that of like, I feel like I should be playing more minutes in more significant games. He was given his chance, and again, a genius bit of management from Maresca because Jackson's one card away from suspension. We couldn't bear to miss him in the Spurs game. So it made sense, despite the fact that Jackson wanted to play in the Southampton game, it made sense to bring in Nkunku. He got his goal, he got the assist. We got to see the balloon blow up on in the Premier League game.
I was a little bit like, I know, and I shouldn't be because I love that celebration. But you know when it's just like, I just felt embarrassed because like they were so bad.
No, it's not. It's not a Conference League.
No, he didn't. That was good.
Right? So he probably knew his place there. This is a Premier League league.
Yeah.
Let him enjoy it.
It counts.
And look at the difference between the 2 goals he scored in the Premier League. The one against Bournemouth was so significant because we didn't play well and he scored the winner for us coming off the bench. But this one was the game where we were kind of dominating and controlling it. Unfortunately for him, Nicolas Jackson's one of the best strikers in the Premier League this year. So the chances are going to be few and far between. He'll get more of a chance during this busy Christmas period because we all have to rotate and we've got maybe slightly easier opposition, but he's going to have to buy this time. In terms of his overall performance, he played as well as everybody else. We did our job. We went to Southampton. We got the 3 points and he can be happy with his performance.
He hasn't... It's like Kweku said, it's going to be so hard because Nicolas Jackson has been one of the best strikers in the Premier League this season. But I just feel like when I watch him, I'm a bit like, meh. I don't know, like, it feels like he hasn't done enough to even give Enzo Maresca a decision to make about who he's going to start up from, which is what I want to see from a player with Christopher Nkunku's ability, is going out there and giving the manager a real tough decision to make, which he hasn't.
I think the problem is, what is Nkunku's best position? I don't think he's a number 9. I think he probably likes to operate a little bit where Palmer wants to operate. I think he's one of those that comes to feet. Jackson stretches defenders. Jackson's a different type of centre forward. And you do have, it's nice to have options, but I'm not quite sure that Nkunku, in Maresca's team, there's a natural fit because you can't drop Palmer.
No.
You don't rest Palmer.
But also, if you rest Palmer, he's bringing in Felix. So that's the position. Felix, Palmer, or Nkunku. They're the ones that are going to be operating in there. Felix played out on the left last night, and then, but look, he's still an option. But I think the question is, what does Nkunku look like in Chelsea's best 11, and where should he play? I think he probably should play in behind Jackson. Like, because in pre-season they played like you said, I think off a striker is Nkunku's best position, where you can play close together, you can link up really nicely.
We haven't seen that yet.
No.
We haven't seen that.
But then
why? Because you can't drop Palmer.
No, you can't.
I mean, that's a ridiculous conversation. Palmer might get a suspension, might get a knock, might get rested over this busy period. I'd love to see what that looks like, that duo.
Look at the evolution of this Chelsea team, though. Remember, it's like absence makes the heart grow fonder. And when Nkunku was injured, we were like, oh my God, can't wait for him to come back in. He's going to change our life. Now we can't get a look in the first team. Shows how far we've come in such a short period of time. And if you've got Christopher Nkunku coming off the bench for you, you're in a good place. Because he'll start for a lot of top Premier League sides.
Problem is, and it's been muted in the press, it's all well and good us saying that. If you're Nkunku, you're not thinking the same thing.
No, you're not. I think it's safe to say Nicolas Jackson is going to be starting up top on Sunday against Spurs. Now, my first question to you, Jace, is what is it about Chelsea that makes Spurs lose their heads every single time they play?
Well, the rivalry goes back, even when I come through Chelsea's academy and youth team, it was ingrained in me as a boy, a Chelsea fan. There's something about it. The rivalry is intense. I love it. I know that Arsenal and Spurs, they've got, their North London thing, but let me tell you, there's a different feel between Chelsea, Spurs, Chelsea, right? There is an atmosphere, there's the vitriol, that border on hatred. It's going to bubble, absolutely going to bubble. And because Spurs are a little bit hit and miss, you don't know what you're going to get from Spurs. Yes, they can go and beat Villa 4-1. They can go to Man City and beat them 4. They also lose Ipswich or lose to Palace or drop points at home to Fulham. You don't know what you're going to get. If we go there, I don't think we get beat the weekend, right? We go there and give our best performance, we don't get beat. Spurs, I know they've got a few injuries. I don't know what I'm going to get from Spurs. And do you know what? Spurs fans don't know what they get. All I want to know is that we go in there, we give our best version of ourselves,
we'll come away with something.
This is how much Jace loves Chelsea versus Spurs. We were in the green room earlier talking about the 1967 FA Cup final. He goes, yeah, Chelsea lost that one 2-1 against Spurs. That's how much it goes deep. And this is, like you said, there's a vitriol there. There's a Chelsea versus Liverpool's got it, and Chelsea versus Spurs has got it. We just do not like them. And last season when we were in the doldrums, apparently we were rubbish. That was a double over them. Beaten 4-1. They got eulogised after losing 4-1 at home against Chelsea.
Yeah, they did.
Nicolas Jackson scored 14 goals last season in the Premier League. 4 of them were against Spurs. He's going to be up for it. And it just means more. I can't see us losing this game. No. Whether we win it is a different matter. I do think we do. But we need to show, obviously we beat Villa last weekend. We need to show that in these games against the bigger teams, we can go and get 3 points. The Man United game was probably one of the most disappointing of the season because they were there for the taking. Yeah. Spurs are there for the taking. They're so inconsistent. They might lose tonight. By the time this comes out, they might have lost. And so we go there full of confidence, one of the best teams in the league. If we don't get all 3 points, I'll be very disappointed.
Also, sorry, one other thing. That fourth spot that I spoke about, I know we're second right now, but that fourth spot, they're very much in the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd quite have the minerals yet. But if they were to beat us at the weekend, you watch that full spot all of a sudden become a bit more of a conversation.
Kweku, you mentioned the 1967 FA Cup final, which Jason obviously knew the score. That game is the reason I'm a Chelsea fan. My dad went to that game and his family were very heavily involved in cricket. So he was went to an FA Cup final, I don't know how, and said he was going to support whichever team lost. And Spurs beat Chelsea that day.
You would not be sat
here.
You'd be a Spurs fan.
Oh, God, I'd be looking ahead, scared about playing Chelsea. Oh, God, it actually gives me shivers thinking about that. I could be sat here.
Live the Spurs
Live the Spurs fan.
All right, move on, Liv. Move on.
No, yeah. But with that game, I think they don't enjoy playing us, but we have to make sure, Jace, that we go there knowing the best that they can offer. But also, this is coming from a Spurs player, by the way, an ex-Spurs player right here.
Shush. Right, shush.
All of that.
Shush, all mistakes. Go on. Go on.
How do you look back on your time as a Spurs player, Jace?
Well, it was terrible, Liv. I mean, I don't really want to talk. Move on, please. Let's talk about it.
Do you have you don't even care, you're just like, no.
No, I've got no love for Spurs at all.
No,
right. I dislike Spurs as much now as I did before I joined them. So,
but was that difficult for you?
It was a very odd scenario, Liv, because I just signed a 4.5-year contract in November, and by the time March came round, Chelsea accepted a bid, and I had a phone call from Ian Porterfield saying to me, "We've accepted a bid, and Terry Venables is going to phone you this afternoon." It was very different back then because if the club wanted you gone, you went. Yeah. I mean, look, we've just seen what's happened with Mason Mount. We've just seen what's happened with Conor Gallagher. And now the players got far more power. If the club want you out, they want you out. And they wanted the money more than me. Chelsea made their choices. They made their decisions. And unfortunately, I had no choice but to make mine. But look, it's part of my life. It happened. But, you're a lifelong Chelsea fan. And, I'm very lucky now. I went away, but I've come back.
You've come back and you're here to stay.
When you were playing against Spurs, did you feel it back then, like when you just...
That was for Chelsea?
For Chelsea. When you played against Spurs, did you feel that nastiness, the players were more revved up for it because it was a big game?
Even in the youth team.
Oh, really?
It was ingrained in you in the youth team, what this game meant. But as a Chelsea fan, I didn't need to be told because it was very much there, that like I said, it'll crackle. And there's certain games, and this is why I love football, because there's certain games at certain stadiums where you're at something big. I know that Brentford are a West London rival. Brentford under the lights or Spurs under the lights?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you can't compare the two. There is nothing compared. And whoever's going to be at the stadium at the weekend, Chelsea fans, right, they'll be in, that will be like a proper battle.